The News Watch never stops. This is 1010 Wins at 92.3 FM. You give us 22 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Good morning. It's 58 degrees at 7:40 on this Thursday, September 21st. I'm Scott Stanford. Here's what's happening. Big boost for migrants in the city as the White House will make it easier to get work permits. Strike averted. New York City bus drivers get a new deal. Parents with kids in school can now exhale. Ukraine's president on Capitol Hill today looking for billions more in aid as his country continues to fight Russia. Cricket World Cup will not be held in New York City, but instead heads out to Long Island. We'll tell you where. Talk about the joy of painting. Bob Ross's very first piece just sold for mega millions. Sports Giants gear up for the Niners in San Fran tonight. Mets won, Yanks lost. AccuWeather. One more beautiful day before it starts to turn ugly this weekend. Today, though, sunny and high 72. Enjoy it, my friends. Winds News Time, 7:41. Traffic and transit on the ones. I don't know if everybody's enjoying their commute this morning, Karen Stewart.
No, that's for sure. Now we've got Whitestone Expressway problems southbound over at Linden Place. Truck broke down in the right lane at Linden. We've got delays to go back to the Whitestone Bridge coming into Queens. If you're heading out into the other East River crossings, like the 59th Street Bridge or the Queens Midtown or the RFK, they're all very, very slow. The inbound Williamsburg Bridge is tied up, and the inbound Brooklyn Battery Tunnel is too, and the trip there is really heavy. Coming up the Belt Parkway, going up to the 39th Street, and then it's jammed from 39th up into Atlantic Avenue. The Van Wyck northbound into Atlantic's jammed from back of the busy Belt Parkway from back at exit 24 for West Merrick Road. And then we've got more westbound delays traveling from Canarsie out in Flatbush Avenue and into Sheepshead Bay at Knapp Street. You're going to notice we've got slowdowns there. The inbound George is 45 minutes. The inbound Lincoln and Holland tunnels are a half hour. An alternate side of the street is in effect today. We're sponsored by New York Waterway Ferry. Driving to New York City? Well, there's a better way. Take the New York Waterway Ferry with 8 convenient New Jersey terminals, easy parking, fast, frequent ferries to Midtown and downtown, and free shuttles in the city. Taking the ferry is the best way to New York. Visit nywaterway.com or call 1-800-53-FERRY. I'm Karen Stewart, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, New York's mayor and New York's governor have both been asking for help from the government with this migrant crisis. They finally got a little assist from the president when it comes to work permits. Glenn Schuck runs it all down for us.
For nearly 500,000 Venezuelan migrants, the Biden administration's moves now expands their temporary protected status. It will allow them, including 60,000 migrants here in New York, to get work papers right away. It does not apply to migrants who've arrived in the city in August and September. Here's Governor Hochul on CNN after meeting with the president about this.
This is a good approach. I thank the president for having a limit. This is for people who came before July 31st, so it's not an enticement for more to come after. I think that was an important consideration.
Mayor Eric Adams, of course, has been a harsh critic of the Biden administration throughout this situation, saying this.
We can't spike the ball, but we do have to acknowledge that our voices were heard.
And the mayor says the crisis is far from over as 10,000 migrants from points all around the world continue to come into the city every month. Glenn Schuck, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Midtown.
And speaking of which, the number of migrants being held at the border had been declining for months, but now Border Patrol agents in El Paso are detaining a rising number again, almost 500 a day. Officials there say their facilities are stretched pretty thin.
El Paso has been here before, but rather than have migrants sleep out on the streets, there has been a concerted effort this time to move them into shelters, hotels, or onto their next destination. But with the numbers continuing to go up, the question is how much more can these border communities handle?
That's Manuel Bayores reporting over 8,000 people in total were nabbed Monday alone trying to cross the Mexican border. Wins News Time 7:44. Good news. The New York City school bus drivers will not be going on strike. They hit what officials are calling a strong tentative agreement with the 5 major school bus providers. Students and parents spared the chaos and the headache that would have come with that strike. ATU International President John Costa said the agreement recognizes their commitment and dedication to providing safe and reliable transportation to our most precious cargo, the students. Federal prosecutors want to know whether or not New Jersey Senator Robert Menendez or his wife received hundreds of thousands of dollars in gold bars from an admitted felon. in return for some legal maneuvering. Authorities looking into the relationship between Senator Menendez and Fred Davies. News 4 New York reporting the New Jersey developer and one-time bank chairman may have given the gold bars to the senator's wife in return for Mendez allegedly offering to contact the Justice Department to help Davies, who was accused of several banking crimes. Some very valuable art that was stolen by the Nazis was returned yesterday to the heirs of celebrated Austrian performer Egon Schiele, who was killed in the Holocaust. Reporter Marla Diamond picks up the story.
DA Alvin Bragg called the return of the 7 pieces valued at $9 million historic and groundbreaking.
In this office, justice has no expiration date,
said Matthew Bogdanos, who directs the DA's Antiquities Trafficking Unit. The watercolors and pencil drawings were handed to Judge Timothy Reif, an heir of Austrian performer Fritz Grunbaum, who was killed in the Dachau concentration camp in 1941.
Because you remember, you will be remembered. Your actions are as righteous as they are courageous.
Marla Diamond, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in Lower Manhattan.
Wins News Time 7:46. Ukraine's president in Washington today looking for more U.S. aid to help his country defend itself against Russia.
Volodymyr Zelensky will meet with U.S. senators inside the old Senate chamber here at the Capitol and then meet separately with U.S. House leaders. But unlike last time he was here last year, there are growing divisions in Congress about whether to continue funding aid to Ukraine. Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri, says Congress can't be a blank check with an indefinite war ahead.
That's correspondent Scott McFarland. President Biden has asked Congress for another $24 billion in military and humanitarian aid for Ukraine. Contentious hearing on Capitol Hill yesterday. The House Judiciary Committee questioning Attorney General Merrick Garland. Republicans accusing Garland and prosecutors of weaponizing the Department of Justice.
Their heavy focus was on Hunter Biden and the notion that he's somehow gotten preferential treatment, to which the Attorney General basically responded over and over again. This was a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney who had been looking at Hunter Biden for 5 years. He grandfathered him into the job and kept him in the job even after the Biden administration took it over. And that, the moment that David Weiss, this U.S. attorney, asked to be a special counsel, he was named such. No matter what you're saying, someone who should be fair and objective and perhaps more than aggressive has been allowed to do the job as he sees fit.
It's correspondent Pierre Thomas. Well, if you were hoping for the Cricket World Cup to make its way to New York City, you're out of luck. Mayor Adams fought for the event and all that would come along with the economic boost. But instead, the World Cup heads out east to Nassau County.
The argument against bringing the Cricket World Cup and a 34,000-seat temporary stadium to Van Cortlandt Park next year was centered around public land being used by a private company. Here's Bronx Congressman Richie Torres.
Van Cortlandt Park belongs to the people, and we've succeeded in keeping Van Cortlandt Park in the hands of the people.
He and others against it say there was no approvals process. To the east, and Eisenhower Park in Nassau County. County Executive Bruce Blakeman talked to community leaders and the cricket leagues, and he got a resounding yes.
It's an opportunity for us to showcase everything that we have, all the amenities that we have, and what a great community we have.
He says it'll bring tens of thousands of people. The stadium will be put together for the event and taken down after. Mac Rosenberg, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM.
Well, somewhere in heaven, painter Bob Ross is smiling really big. One of his paintings just cashed in.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
The first Bob Ross painting ever to be featured on his iconic PBS show just sold at auction for $9.8 million. It's called A Walk in the Woods, an oil on canvas he painted back in 1983. The painting's actually credited with launching Ross's career.
The old clock on the wall tells me it's about time to bring the show and the series to a close.
Ross created more than 1,000 pieces of art on the joy of painting before the show ended its run in 1994. That was a year before Ross died of lymphoma at 52.
Love Bob Ross. Hey, one woman in Michigan had to be rescued from an outhouse. I mean, really rescued. That's coming up, but we'll hit traffic and transit on the ones in just a minute. Come on back.
Every piece of land has a story. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening, watching, joining me on my commute to work.
You can change Hey Siri in settings.
Hey, that's my watch trying to say hi. Yeah, so just letting everyone know, I understand these videos are not the most entertaining or the most exciting, but I do feel it's important to document our local history. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video.